Hello and welcome to this introductory video for the Nuts About Squirrels Stamp-a-Stack class. So without further ado, let me bring you down to my downward facing camera. Obviously, in order to complete this class, you are going to need the Nuts About Squirrels stamp set. It is a two-step stamp set. That's never easy to say. So you do have your outline squirrels, and then you have these little pieces that act as sort of like an infill on your squirrels. Obviously, you don't have to use those. You can colour in with your pencils, your pens, whatever colour medium you fancy. You can watercolour them, you can do all of those things. For the 3 cards that I've created today, I have used those infill stamps, but if you decide that you want to colour in instead, then absolutely do. There's absolutely no rules. It is your class, it is your creativity. When it comes to these two-step stamping, it's worth getting a piece of scrap paper out first and having a bit of a play, because the more that you use these sort of stamps, the more your eye sort of gets in as to what you need to line up. I mean, for this one, certainly, I tend to find the top of the tail there and the ears, sort of, if you get those right and then bring in the feet as like a sort of final balancing point, that tends to work. It's worth testing to see whether you find it easier to put the shaded infill piece in first and then add the outline, or whether you find it easier to do it the other way round. Everybody's going to be different. You really experiment and see what works best for you, but it certainly is worth getting out a piece of scrap paper and having a bit of a play to start with, just to get your eye in and to sort of feel confident with where lining them up and stamping them. Of course, you can also line them up on, if you have a Stamparatus or a stamp positioning tool, then that's a good way of lining them up, because you can obviously stamp your outline and then lay your infill stamp on top of it until you're happy that it's positioned right, and then pick it up and stamp with it. So that is another quick tip to making it a little bit easier for lining up your squirrels. This little squirrel here is carrying an acorn, and you do have your pieces here that are going to be able to colour in that acorn, but obviously you can also use them if you wish to create acorns in their own right on your projects. So let's have a little look at the cards that we have created. We have 3 here that I have created. There's a birthday one, there's a hope you're feeling bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and there's a nuts about you. Obviously, do feel free to change greetings up, and or not put greetings on until you're ready to send them, so that you can match the greetings to the occasion. As always, you are going to have full colour instructions, so you will have a nice big picture of the completed card on the front there, a list of the products that have been used, as well as instructions for making it up. So you have a sheet like that for each of the projects, and for each of these projects you have enough supplies to create 2 of each. So it may well be that you want to make one as it is and change greetings and things on the other. I really your projects, you go for it. Right, so this first one here, the autumnal squirrel, if we lift this piece up, you'll see that this front piece is shorter than the back piece. So what I have done is you've got a card base here, so you've got a top opening card base. I've popped this in my trimmer, or you can measure it and draw it on and cut it or whatever, but I have just cut 2 centimeters from this side and 2 centimeters from that side. So I've cut it up in my trimmer up until the score line, and then you can either cut it off with your trimmer, or you could get a pair of scissors and snip that off, and that will give you this shorter, narrower front piece just here. And then you have a piece of basic white card like this, and 2 pieces of basic white card like this. So on the big piece and one of the small pieces, you're going to do some stamping. So I have just taken, so mine is Poppy Parade, Daffodil Delight, Granny Apple Green, and Pumpkin Pie, and I have randomly stamped those leaves and the veins, but you know, if you don't want to do the reins, you don't have to, but I have stamped both, and I've randomly stamped it all over that background piece. And then this front piece, I've added some leaves across this top, sort of a bit of a frame across this top bit. And then the little squirrel, I have stamped him in cinnamon cider, and I have done both the squirrel itself and the outline in solid cinnamon cider. And then the little acorn, I have done in soft suede. So the top piece of the acorn I have done in a solid. I've inked it up and stamped it straight on. This little nut piece just here is second generation. So I've inked it up, stamped onto a scrap piece of paper, and then stamped onto there to give that different colour. I've stamped this greeting on the bottom. You might find it easier to stamp your greeting on the bottom. That was in Granny Apple Green, because then that gives you a position to sort of stand your squirrel on top. I've stamped and fussy cut 3 little leaves. I've done 2 green and a yellow, whatever colour you fancy. It's got a bow of linen thread behind there, and I've stamped that hay there also in Granny Apple Green. So quite a bit of stamping on there. Get carried away with all your stamping. Your other piece of white card you can just pop on the inside just here, and that will give you something to write your greeting on. And you've got this little piece of card just here, which is there waiting for you to stamp those 3 little leaves. So that's that. And as I say, you have 2 envelopes full of bits like that, so that you can create 2 of those cards. Where has the other one gone? Let's pop that back. Next in this pack, I have this card here. Now then, this one opens up like this. Now you have got, I've not been very good and done mine yet, but you have got some white cards to sit in the back here. So in the back there, you have got your piece of basic white that's going to sit inside, that you could stamp your greeting on or whatever. Let's shut that up. You have your little black matte dots. You have a strip of basic white and a strip of black that you're going to be able to do your greeting with. This one says happy birthday, but obviously you make yours whatever you like. You have 2 pieces of DSP. You have a scalloped black circle and a plain white one that are going to layer up together, and you have some ribbon. Now you'll notice that the ribbon is different from the one on the picture, and the other one is probably going to be different again. So there is a variety of ribbon, but the idea is the same with all of them. Wrap it completely around your card, and you want it so it ties up on this side in a bow. So what I did when I did mine, so obviously you're going to put this in after you put your paper in, so wrap it round. I just put a bit of tape across there just to hold it down, and then when I added my circle, I put those on with dimensionals on this side. Don't put dimensionals all over, else your card won't open. So just on the one half, put dimensionals on the back and lift that up. But I've taped that down as well, so that's all that's holding that ribbon in place, is the fact that I've taped it to the front just there, and the circle has gone on the top. But as I say, don't do that until after you've done your paper. Now your paper, you've got 2 pieces. You've got one that's leaves and one that's like a check. So what you want to do is you want to cut it, so you can put them on top of each other and do it at the same time. You want to cut it from the top right to the bottom left. So cut it like that, and then you'll use, you know, you've got that half of the diagonal just there on this piece, and that half of the diagonal here on this piece, and then you filled in with the gingham pieces. So that this top piece here will come in here, and the bottom piece here will come in here. So hopefully that makes sense. So literally cut them in half and then sort of put them back together to form these 2 rectangles. But what you end up with is like this sort of checked strip coming across the middle here when the card is shut. So that's your papers. Do your papers first, then wrap your ribbon round your little white circle just here. I have used basic grey, so I have stamped my squirrel outline in basic grey. The infill piece I've stamped off, so second generation, slightly paler, and then I've stamped some basic grey leaves, again stamped them off first to make them paler, but the branch I've done in a solid grey. The happy birthday I did in solid basic grey, and just layered that up onto some black card and put my little dots on, as I say, and you just put some dimensionals on one half of your circle to stick it down so that it will still open. Otherwise that would be a disaster. So hopefully that is all makes sense. Let's pop those in there. So you will have a coordinating ribbon of some sort. It may be sparkly, it may be gingham, it may be coloured. There's a variety of different ones round and about. You have black ribbon of some sort to go wrap around your projects. Again, you have enough supplies to make 2 of those. And last but not least, we have our little nuts about you squirrel just here. So you have a Poppy Parade card base for this one. And again, oh, I've not cut the insert. You will have an insert to go in there. I will do that as soon as this video is finished, so that you've got your insert for it in there. So on the front here, you've got a piece of Poppy Parade. I don't know if you can pick that up. Yep, I have embossed that for you with one of the Dotty Hearts embossing folders. So you'll then lay that onto your black piece just there. Tie this twine around there and finish with a bow over on this left hand side, and then that will stick to your card front like that. Then you've got this little scalloped rectangle that you're going to do your stamping on. You've got a black mat that you're going to be able to mat it up on when you've finished, and you've got these little hearts. So I seem to have got some splatters appear on my card from once I've made it. The splatters are not included. So I have done this again in cinnamon cider, but I've stamped off this time. So solid squirrel, but I've stamped off for the infill. And you've got 2 branches. So what I suggest you do is you do your first branch and your first squirrel. They do go off the edges. You don't need to get all of the squirrel on. So first branch, first squirrel, and then that will enable you to work out where to put your second branch and your second squirrel. So you don't want it to go too far up, but you want it sort of far enough up that you're going to get some leaves in. So stamp your 2 branches and your 2 squirrels. I then use Granny Apple Green to stamp some leaves, and then you've got a little set of die cut hearts in there. So I've just put a splattering of hearts around so that it looks like heart-shaped blossom, and I've stamped the nuts about you again in Poppy Parade at the top there. And you know, as always, if you want to change that greeting out, that's absolutely fine. Let me leave that just there because that will remind me that I need to cut some inserts for those. So that is your 3rd card, and that's about you. So you've got a birthday, you've got one that you could send to somebody who's perhaps feeling, you know, perhaps hasn't been feeling very well and you're hoping they're feeling better, or just to say hello. And then you have this happy birthday one in black and white, and these papers from the black and white one are taken from the Party Patterns pack, which is the host pack that you can get from the main annual catalogue that has lots and lots of patterns in, and I thought that those leaves matched beautifully the leaves in the stamps set. So as always, do message me if you have any questions, if there's anything you're struggling with, if there's something missing for your kit that you need me to send you. Yes, I am only human, and sometimes things sort of drop out or don't get quite put in the kit. So do shout if you're missing anything, if you have any questions, and do have fun creating your Nuts About Squirrels cards. It's a really fun little set, and you can make some really fun, quirky little cards with it. So enjoy. Thank you for joining me for this class, and I hope that you'll join me for another class very soon.